Hi. We're working and talking. That's what we're doing. And so I had a question, like just a genuine question, discussion starter, if you will. I would definitely do this video. I would definitely do it as a live if I had followers and went live or whatever, because I'm interested, genuinely, I'm interested in people's feedback of this, like what they would have to say about it. So my curiosity is, I'm 23 weeks today with our baby. And a little backstory before I get into this is so for starters, my husband thought that we would never have anything besides boys. He thought we would only ever have boys because his family, there's a lot of boys. He is one of three, and I would be lying if I tried to tell you an actual number. I kind of have that's kind of goofy right there, isn't it? And if you hear a lawnmower, my father-in-law is mowing our grass right now for us, which is amazing. Thank goodness for him. Anyway, so I don't know how many boy cousins he has, but he has a slew of cousins on his dad's side. His mom's side, all he has is girl cousins. He's got 2 girl cousins, and that's it. So it's a small family. But on his dad's side, it was a much bigger family, and he had a slew of cousins, right? And of this slew of cousins that he only had 2 girl cousins, okay? So to him, it was a no-brainer. We were only gonna ever have boys, because people on his dad's side of the family, the males, they just have boys, and that's it. And I always told him he would regret saying that, and he does. We're now on our second girl. So he was, I don't know, he was going through it, I guess, when we were pregnant with our daughter, our first daughter. And we deciding a name. This is what I want to talk about, is names. But maybe a different aspect of names than you think. So when we were trying to decide what to name our daughter, so for starters, my husband and I had just decided to start trying, I believe, for our daughter. And a friend of ours was pregnant with their second child, and she showed up to our house one night to deliver the envelope, the envelope, right? So for gender reveal. So my husband and I knew before anyone else what she was having. And it was a very exciting night, for us. It was very exciting, and I was honored to be a part of that. It was really, I didn't throw the gender reveal. Her sister lived an hour away, and so I sent the information to her sister and whatever. But just, I don't know, there was just such an energy and such an honor of this woman showing up to your house at 7 o'clock at night with an envelope, a sealed envelope, and you are, I don't know, that was just really neat to me, and I even think it was neat to my husband. And mind you, we were newly married, right around a year, and we had decided to start trying and all of that kind of stuff. Now here's what's funny, is what was in that envelope was boy. And my husband always thought we would only ever have boys, right? So our friend was having a boy. But for whatever reason that night, my husband came up with a girl name. It just hit him out of nowhere, and he came up with this girl name. And what was upsetting to me about that is I had this other girl name that I really wanted. It's a popular name now, but back, I fell in love with it 6 years prior to that, and it wasn't popular at the time. And I was just I was set that was going to be my daughter's name, and then now all of a sudden I'm finding out that my husband doesn't like that name, and all this stuff, drama, right? I mean, it wasn't drama, it wasn't bad, but we were having this conversation, and my husband was dead set. This name that he came up with, he's that is our daughter's name. And I'm well, you say we're not even gonna have a daughter anyway, so, which would have devastated me. I wanted a girl really bad. I want a boy too, though. So basically that night he came up with this name. So whenever we got pregnant and it ended up being a girl, he was just like, we know the name. And I was like, we don't know the name. And I think like I was a little bit stubborn because I really liked the name, but it wasn't my favorite name. And I wanted to have like a full-fledged conversation about it and have a name picking process of some sort. I wanted to like explore other options in case like I'm like looking online, right, and seeing these lists, and I read this name and I just love it, like fall in love with it, you know. And I didn't know. I didn't want to go, okay, yeah, that's going to be your name. I didn't want to do that. So, the process of picking our daughter's name was absolute murder. It was horrendous, between my husband and I, because he shut down every name I had. And then the other names that he was coming up with, I literally hated them. And it was just like, it was such a nightmare. I'm like, what? It was terrible. And what made it more difficult and put more pressure on us is that actually okay, for one, right now, like monogramming is huge. It's not as big as it used to be there for a while, but like monogramming is huge. Or personalization. Personalization is so massive. And you know, like everybody says, and people even say this about the spelling of our daughter's name that we ended up picking. Oh, you'll never go into a souvenir shop and pick their name out or whatever. That's a little bit, to me, that's a little bit a thing of the past. And the reason I say that is you go to souvenir shops and they have personalized stuff, but it's nothing like the 90s, early 2000s. You go to souvenir shops and yeah, it was all that stuff. Now there's really not, that I've noticed, and I love new souvenir shops. Hi, I'm Kristen. I love souvenir shops because I am a product of the 80s, 90s era. So yeah, get back. I want to go to a state park and go to their shop, like that's me. But like their personalized stuff just doesn't seem to be as prevalent as it once was. And I think it's because we're in an era now that like so many people are crafting and making things and personalizing things that's really not like needed anymore. It's not that much of a novelty thing anymore because you can get your name on anything, literally anything. You can get it on there. And so, you know, to me, that's not as big of a deal as it used to be. But, you know, I do like unique names. I don't like to look at the most popular list of names for the year and pick off of that. Like, I like unique names. And I like to pick spellings that make the most sense to me. And that's what we did with our daughter. I think people think that we were trying to be clever or really unique or something. And it's like, no, literally not. Like, I just literally, we picked the spelling that we both liked and that made the most sense to us. That's what we did. So, but picking the actual name and arriving at that name was terrible. We did end up going with the name that my husband had originally picked. And I'm in love with that name. He thinks he picked the middle name, which is absolutely hysterical to me because he did not. I did. But okay, everybody remembers stuff different, don't they? It is the middle name that I had paired with my other name I liked, but okay. But where I was going with that was, you know, the personalization of everything. What I was very, very much afraid of was people buying us monogram things, or, you know, his aunt knits, crochets or whatever, and like everybody wanted to make personalized stuff for my shower. And while I really appreciated the thought and I thought it was really sweet, and it's not like I'm not trying to come from a place of like ignorance or come off as hateful to people who genuinely wanted to do something nice for us, it wasn't that. It was just like what I was afraid of is if we announced the name, you know, before we were sure, and then the baby came and then we changed our mind. First of all, yes, there is the factor of you tell people what the name is before the baby's born, and then you have to hear about how ugly it is, or why they don't like it, or that they know someone with that name and whatever. You have to hear that. But then also I was afraid that we would get on the other side of that, and then we would have like all this stuff with the wrong name on it. Like, I was so afraid of that. So fast forward to this time, and I would say we're like 99% sure what this name is going to be. And I leave that little bit open because I'm like, first of all, people pressure you. Every time I turn around, people want to know the name, and that's fine. Like, I too would be a person that would be like, so have you picked a name yet? But I hope I never have pressured anyone or made them feel stupid for not wanting to tell what their name was, or anything like that. But I genuinely really don't want to disclose our name to very many people. I mean, we are disclosing to some. I would have kept it to ourselves completely, and then my husband started telling when asked, and I was like, oh, we're telling that name? Oh, okay, we're telling these names that are on our list. What's exciting to me is it's not as hard this time around as it was the first time, and I think it's because my husband felt like he played such a huge role in naming our daughter that he's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be so over the top about it. Like, I want to like the name, obviously, but you should name this one or whatever. Like, I think that's what he thinks. Well, it's pretty much what he has said, and so this process has gone a lot easier. Actually, he didn't add one name to the list of names that I went through. He scratched a lot of them off, and he gave me his opinions and his ideas of things. Like, yeah, of course, I'm not saying he's like, just name her whatever, I don't care. He's not being like that. But there's no like fight, because he actually liked the names that I put on the list for the most part. There was a few he was like, absolutely not, cross it off. And then otherwise, like, he liked them, and so he's just like, yeah, okay. And we've talked it through until we scratched off names until we got down to the last 3. And then I really think maybe, I think a long time before I acknowledged it, really, we went ahead and scratched off another one, crossed off another one, and we were down to 2. And I would say ultimately, I guess we're still down to those 2. The problem is that one of them is popular. One of them is very popular, and also would be repeat name of a cousin that I have. So but we both love the name so much, first and middle. We both love it so much that it's hard to part with it. But I super don't want a popular name. My husband could not care less, I should say. Could not care less. He doesn't care about the popularity. He's like, you're so hung up on all that stuff and whatever. Yeah, well, we grew up in an era, and if this is your name, this is no hate, and I'm not trying to be gross, but there was like a million, like, Tiffany's, Brittany's, Ashley's, Kayla's, like, they're beautiful names. I'm not saying anything, if that's your name, great, like, I'm not saying anything bad about it, but I know you were not the only Kayla. You were not the only Tiffany. You knew several. I guarantee you did. And that's all I'm saying is, like, I don't want something that is so far out in left field that it's like a weird name, or like you've never heard that name before. No, I don't want that. But I just don't want my child going to school with 10 other girls with the same name. I just would prefer to like keep it more unique than that. That's just a personal preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with a popular name either. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to be a little more unique. I'm not even saying original. I'm not trying to be original. I'm just trying to be a little more unique than that. So that's the only thing that like is making us lean more for this other name. And also, if we go with this other name, my middle name could go with it. And I had a moment for a little bit, like after I had my daughter, that I was really upset for some reason that I didn't use my middle name on her. It would not have gone with her first name. My middle name would not have gone with her first name, and I picked her middle name, and I love her name together. I love it. We actually call her her first and middle name very, very frequently. But I had like this little, whatever you want to call it, postpartum, that I was just like, I really wish I would have used my middle name. So, and my husband feels like, it's funny because I don't know if he even knew that I really felt like that much. Maybe I'm sure I had mentioned it, but he even said, he was like, you need to use your middle name on this one. And the name that we like that would be repeat and also popular, we like a different middle name with that one. So for multiple reasons, and stuff like that. So, but anyway, he started telling some people, and I don't know how to like say this delicately, but there are very opinionated people in life. My ring light is dying. I'm losing my sheen here. Not my sheen, but let's see if I can do that. Maybe help a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, there are very opinionated people just in life, just in general. Like, I've run into that a lot, and I think a lot of other women struggle with that in terms of being a mom and different things, not even just the name thing. Then I find out there are some women that never have dealt with this, and I'm like, how did you avoid that? I get a lot of opinions thrown my way about a lot of different things. That is just like, why? But it has happened in my 2.5 years of being a mother. It has happened more than I don't know, girl, whatever. So, that's why I would have kept the names completely to ourselves. But it's not. It's out to certain people. And the people that it is out to, I don't have a problem with them knowing. I really don't. And I even proceed with caution whenever talking to those people about it, in terms of letting them know, we are not announcing this. This is not public knowledge. We're telling you. And I think it makes people feel funny when you say that, like, oh, well, I wasn't, because those people are not like opinionated, rude people. So they're like, no, we didn't mean to put you on the spot. And it's like, no, I'm just letting you know so that there's no slip ups or anything like that. Like, this is what we're thinking. We're being open and honest with you, but this is not going to be public knowledge for some time. And it's that way for a reason. I was approached by one person who asked, and then whenever I didn't disclose the names, like, I could tell that this person was frustrated, very, very frustrated. Like, they felt like, and I feel like people who have more kids do that sometimes to you. Like, I don't know, I'm not gonna get into it, but I just feel like that person was frustrated with me. And then whenever I wouldn't disclose the names, then they started to feel like, I don't know, a conversation is a conversation, but then it goes like another way, right? So this person started almost seeming like they thought that they could like name our child. And I wasn't trying to immediately get offended or defensive or like anything like that. I'm not saying I was trying to be that person. And I know I came off kind of nasty, and that was an accident, because I don't mean to be like that. I have received unsolicited opinions and judgment from this person in the past about something a lot more passionate than name picking. And I'm just going to leave it there. And not that it's happened a lot or anything, because it hasn't, but I'm just saying, So that being said, I got a little more defensive than I should have, and then they just started like throwing names at me and stuff, and I think it was well meant. But what got me about this encounter was that genuinely, like, they were coming up with names, and they were names that, like, no offense meant to anyone of anything. Like, I'm not even going to say the names on here, because Nothing wrong with the names, just names that I would never choose to name my child. And that is all. But this person, I feel like started getting offended that I didn't just jump all over and fall in love with the names that they were coming up with. I got that vibe. And what was frustrating to me is that it was a larger conversation with like more people involved. And when this other person who does know the names, and I'm like giving that person this eye, like, I know you're not going to sit here and tell my names. I know you're not. Don't do that. So that was probably not nice on my part, but I was like death glaring, like, what are you doing? Anyway, they did let slip a couple of names that I liked that had been marked off the list like prior. And I know that's why that was disclosed, right? I understand that. But first person that I was talking about absolutely had no problem. And maybe they felt like, hey, it's off your list now, so it's fine. But had no problem with looking at me and saying, oh, no, I don't like that name. I absolutely don't like that name. And so then I had to tell my husband, we really need to be selective with who we tell our names to. For me, I know you don't think it's a big deal, but for me, let's be selective about who we're disclosing our names to. And he was like, well, and then he felt silly. Well, I didn't know we weren't telling. I didn't, well, we didn't tell with our daughter, but also we didn't fully pick or even have it completely narrowed down or feel like any kind of way. And like literally we were at the hospital. You know what I mean? Like we kind of had it narrowed down, but it wasn't like we weren't pulling the trigger on it, where like I think with this one we haven't made it official, but I think more or less we have a pretty good generalized vibe that we know what name we're going with, And so I think that's why he was like, we're this early on and we all but have it picked. Like, what's it hurt to tell people? And so, like, that's my question, really. I mean, that's why I said I wouldn't have gone, like, I kind of went more in backstory and, stuff like that, but that's just the truth of it, and that's what we've been through, and I'm curious, has anyone else dealt with that? You open yourself up, I know a lot of people announce their names well before, well before they deliver and stuff. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. And maybe I should just do it and take the heat and it just is what it is or whatever. And I'm not saying that like people's words bother me because they really don't. But when you have people that I don't know, it just feels like a lot of people want to be rude. Frankly, it really does. And so my question is like, have you struggled with that? Like, and announcing names and going through that, like with your spouse, it's enough that you're going through that and you're excited and there's a name you like. And it's like, I want to pin this name on this person for the rest of their life because I think it's a nice name and it fits and it just, and then you start kind of thinking about your baby in those terms, like that being their name and stuff. And then somebody is like, ew, I don't like that, And so I'm just curious, like, have you dealt with that? Or, do you find that you are more inclined to not announce names? Because when I was younger, I thought it was silly to not tell names, kind of. But I also wasn't going to be the person that is going to look at someone and say, I don't like that name. Even if I didn't really love it, I would think, oh, really? I don't really like that name, but it's not mine to pick. And then we all know that once a baby is here, and they have that name, that's what you think of them as. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm just curious, like, how many people deal with that? Like, the struggle of picking a name, but the struggle of announcing that name or telling that name to people and the reception that you get with it. And, I'm just more inclined to, I would rather people know the name after it's on the baby already. Like, I want us to make that decision for us, and then once it's on the baby, then people can find out, and really, if they say something rude after that, then that's really bad. It's like it's already there. You can't try to change my mind. First of all, you have no right to try to change my mind. But it's already there, right? So I'm just curious. I think a lot of people deal with this. I think it's probably relevant. I think it's probably something that people are going to get passionate about. And that was my generalized, like, overall curiosity with people, and how you have handled the announcing the name, or like what that looks like. I would like to officially decide the name, like pull the trigger, like the closer we get, and then order like maybe like a blanket with the name on there and stuff like that. But I just don't want to make it public knowledge until we're on the other side. Anyway, that's my curiosity. I'm gonna get back to work. Thanks for joining me. If you feel so inclined, please leave a comment below. Let me know your struggle in the naming category and how that goes with family, friends, general public, random strangers on the street. I mean, just, yeah. Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.